Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with season 3 of Gumbo Live. That's right, we made it to season 3 and episode 44. My buddy Chris Wray is back in here, and he's our special guest tonight. Chris Wray of the Opinionated Gamers and also of Capital City Critics. Well, maybe we'll talk about that in a little while. Gumbo Live is a proud member of Punchboard Media. Check out our other fine members like Eternally Bored, the podcast, the video cast. Trey and Charles take on the social issues of our gaming hobby. Plus, they've got an amazing rapport and chemistry and love talking about games in general. It's a podcast. It's a video show. It's Eternally Bored. Check them out. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Hey, hit us up on social media tonight. I'll be checking Twitter at Board Game Gumbo or on Facebook at Board Game Gumbo. We'll be looking for your questions on the chat. But enough blather. Let's get to our special guest. You know, Chris, you might not know this, the number one guy that we get requests to get back on the show. How's that? Chris Wray.
Oh, well, if that's true, that's awesome. But I don't know. That shouldn't be me. That should probably be like Ted Allsbach or something.
No, it is absolutely you. People love to hear because, you know, you play a lot of games, you go to a lot of cons, and people like to hear about it. Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers and from the Capital City Critics, although the last two episodes, I joked with you before the show, it should be the Capital City Curmudgeons.
Except for John Luker, yeah. Three of us are curmudgeonly, and then you got Luker who loves everything.
John Luker, man, I've got to meet that guy. You got to introduce me to him because that guy is an omni gamer. He'll play anything, it seems like.
Yeah, I recently discovered his BGG profile, and this guy rates almost everything an 8 or above. And I was like, man, I wish I loved games that much.
Yeah, stay away from my profile. Very few 6s and 7s, but I do have a few, so double check that. You know, Chris, maybe you're known as the Opinionated Gamers, and I want you to give you the elevator pitch about what that is. And, of course, your podcasts with Brandon and Corinza and John Luker, the Capital City Critics. But maybe you're best known for that article that you wrote about the difference between trick-taking and ladder climbing games, don't you think?
Yeah, that's one of my more,
maybe not best known.
But yeah, Luker still doesn't understand the difference. But no, I'm making fun of John Luker way too much tonight. But no,
that's what the show's about.
I wrote that article, and I still think that the big difference is trick taking is there's just one card in each trick. Ladder climbing is just go out first. So, but yeah.
I actually tried to find it, so it must have been on one of the magazines because I can't find it on the web.
Yeah, it was in Counter Magazine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if maybe we can get the owners of Counter Magazine to. Is that the one that that Greg used to be involved in?
Yeah. And so
I used to get it in PDF form once a month.
Yep. And so I will probably just post it at some point on the What Did You Play This Week Britain blog. So
that would be great. Tell us about the Opinionated Gamers, though.
So my elevator pitch is it's one of the largest written review sites in the world, if not the largest. And that's a really competitive market. I'm just kidding. We're one of the only ones. So I was at Gen Con, and I was in this guy's booth, and I was telling him, you know, he's like, so which video channel are you? And I'm like, I'm not on a video channel. I'm like, we have a written blog. And he's like, that's like writing for a newspaper. I'm like, yeah, it is actually. And he's like, do people still read newspapers? I guess.
Do you get a newspaper at home?
I do. I mean, I still read the newspaper, but I also...
So I've been getting a newspaper at home since the Daily World from Opelousas all the way back in middle school. I mean, all the way through college, all the way through law school, all the way out. I've always gotten it, and I just assumed everybody did. So I've been tracking at my law firm. I've been here about 15 years at the law firm that I'm at now, and I'm the only person. There's only one other person in the history that I've worked with everybody in the law firm that gets a newspaper at home.
Yeah, I mean, I
just assumed everybody did.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the articles you can't read online. A lot of them are actually only in the physical paper, so I still love the physical paper. Can
you imagine a daily board game newspaper?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So, hey, you and I finally got to meet in person at the big festival.
Yeah, and I have a message for your viewers. He is every bit as delightful in person as he is on the show, and so that's actually not always true. But he is actually really, really dynamic and fun in person. And that was the long wait. I was up since 5 a.m. with Brandon at Gen Con. Yep. And you made the time go quickly, talking to you right before the show opened. So
we were waiting for the show to open. I am shorter though than you and well, Brandon's close to my height, but you and Chris Kirkman. Oh my God, Chris Kirkman is a giant. I finally got to meet him, and wow, he's taller than the average Cajun, that's for sure, man. So tell me about Gen Con for you. What was it like? Was it different? It sounds like you weren't there as long as you wanted to be.
No, I was there on Thursday and then the first hour or so on Friday. I had done a one-day Gen Con last year. Frankly, one day at Gen Con's pretty exhausting. It means, unfortunately, that I don't get as much werewolf time as I would like. I love werewolf at Gen Con. There's just no better place in the world to play werewolf than at Gen Con because you have like these complete strangers and trying to get a read on. But and I didn't go to any of the events that I wanted to go to, but Gen Con was fantastic. This year had a really solid crop of games. There was a lot of news out of the convention. Interestingly, there wasn't a lot of news going into the convention this year, which is atypical. True. But it happened all there, like live. And so I felt like I was here in Jefferson City. I was playing the games for the rest of the weekend, but I did feel like I missed out on a lot. But it was a fun event. I mean, it felt less crowded than last year, although attendance was apparently up.
It was 65, they reported.
Yeah, I mean, that's phenomenal. But I mean, I think the booths were laid out better, and I think having extra space probably helped a little bit too. But it was a good experience. I really loved it. I mean, Gen Con's always a fun. I don't know. This is the curmudgeonly side coming out. I don't know that it's the best 4 days in gaming, but it's certainly 4 great days in gaming.
Yeah, did you find that? So last year they opened up Lucas Oil Stadium, and this year I think they integrated Lucas Oil much better. Last year was a big giant museum and a library, and then no one else knew what was going on. This year there were a lot of. I didn't actually go into Lucas Oil, but everybody that told me that they went in said, "Oh no, they really utilized Lucas Oil Stadium better this year."
Yeah, and I think that had to have been the big difference, right? Because last year, I felt like I couldn't move around those halls, and this year, I mean, I got around pretty easily with me and my giant bag of games. So I think they did probably integrate it better.
Now, you mentioned Jefferson City, but you said you guys are members of the podcast Capital City Critics, so that's Baton Rouge, right?
Yes. Yeah, depends on the state, but yeah, sure. I guess, we're in Jefferson City, Missouri. By the way, I have Greg Schlosser is a friend of mine. He is from Jefferson City, Tennessee. And so when you say Jefferson City, it's not always in the Missouri. But.
Yeah, and what's funny, so you live in Jefferson City, he lives in Jefferson City, Tennessee, and started a game group in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana.
Oh, how funny. Oh, that's really funny.
He apparently he's a big fan of Jefferson.
The cities of Jefferson.
The cities of Jefferson. So back to Gen Con. If you had been there all week, I would see you when I'm walking down the halls to the JW, and they have all those werewolf games just below the transfers to the JW. That's you?
I live there at night. I'm there like if I have a full Gen Con, I will go there from 7 or 8 at night until 3 or 4 in the morning.
Now, that tells you how much of a rookie I am, because I just assumed that all those people knew each other already. These are just walk-up groups?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because by like the 3rd year I was there, I was sort of being like, didn't I play this with you last year? But yeah, I mean, the people flow in and out all night. There are probably, 30 different villages going on at a time. So it's really cool because if you get eliminated, I mean, Werewolf's an elimination game. If you get eliminated, just move to the next village. Although I typically stay and watch what happens because I like watching as much as playing. So,
what attracts you to the werewolf game? Because I'll tell you, we played a lot of it, 8 or 10 years ago, and man, I don't know if I could play anymore. What attracts you to it?
I think it's I love all deduction games, and that one's a really good deduction game, and it's a fun social deduction game. I mean, if I played the same version every night, I would probably get bored. But Ultimate Werewolf, if you do it right, you never really play the same game twice. So
the games that I'm seeing when I'm walking down that hallway, and people, I actually saw some like not sell sheets, but they looked almost like sell sheets where people are saying, "Hey, here's our version of werewolf." So people are experimenting and just doing all kind of crazy things with it.
Yeah, so I played a game called Witch Hunt there. It had to be 2 or 3 years ago, and it's probably one of my favorite social deduction games now. And it was just this guy, the designer actually was moderating. He set up like his own little village with Witch Hunt, and we had a great time. So most of them there are, I mean, not to go into too much details on werewolf, but it's 12 villagers, 1 sea or 2 werewolves. So they've got like their favorite format. But I always go to the ones with a little bit that aren't so vanilla.
The social deduction game that I like the best is Deception Murder in Hong Kong. Plug for Gray Fox Games. I don't have any relationship with them other than being a demo guy for them. But the reason that I like that game is because in Werewolf, even in the little 5-minute versions, you still have to point at somebody or point at another person based on ticks or talking or, something like that. In games like New York Artist or Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, there's a reason that you accuse people. It's because of the actions they're doing or the stuff that they're saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's a great game. I mean, it's actually really well produced. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I think one of the joys of Werewolf is actually to see how each different group plays it, because some people really love following, the nervous behavior. Some people, like me, just almost do it entirely based off voting patterns. So it's fun to see the different groups. But a game like, you're right. I mean, it's the actions in the game in those other games. So it's really cool.
All right, so before we get to your spicy games of Gen Con, I do want to talk to you as a follow-up for our previous show. We talked about the Spiel des Jahres. And the first time you and I talked, I was really on the photosynthesis bandwagon. And the second show, we talked about how much it had fallen off, probably a little bit because of the rules. But I'd like to hear, what are your thoughts on how it came out with the Spiel des Jahres wins?
I really loved Azul. Azul was my I would have liked to seen the Mind win, just because I thought that was very innovative. Also, the BGG reactions the next day would have been pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
But I like Azul. I mean, you like Azul? I think everybody loves that game. So, I mean, if it's already sold 300,000 copies, it's hard not to justify it as a Spiel des Jahres winner.
So I'm looking at the list. We had Azul, the Mind, Luxor, and of course we got to include the runners-up, Memoir and Majesty, because they were on the recommended list. So that means they were considering them, right? And I've played 3 of those 5 games. I haven't played the Mind or Luxor yet, so I can't comment on those. Although I feel like I've played the Mind just listening to Alex Goldsmith talk about it so much. But Azul, definitely my favorite. The production, it's still being played on our game night every single week, and it's been a year.
Yeah, I think Luxor will be kind of forgotten. I mean, that's just my prediction, because it's pretty dry, and I don't know that it's all that innovative. So I don't know that Luxor has much traction. But the other ones were all fantastic. And on the Kennerspiel list, which I sorry to just sort of jump to that, but
yeah, no problem.
Those all 3 were excellent games. So
I've only played Ganz Schön Clever out of that, or Cleaver.
That was my favorite. I think that it didn't win, but that was my favorite of the 3.
Heaven and Ale is the one I want to play next, because it really looks good, and I've heard good things about Quacksalber. So
yeah, Heaven and Ale, I think, never really had much of a chance just because it's so heavy, but it's really a phenomenally great game. Quacksalber, the winner, was very entertaining. We played it probably too much too quickly. I got tired of it, but I don't think that's the game's fault. I think that's just how much we played it. We probably played it a dozen times in 3 weeks.
It is frustrating. I realize we're America and this is a German award, but it is frustrating that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those games are not really even available. Unless you're, somebody that knows somebody or is willing to order off Amazon DE for the prices. Heaven and Ale's been out of print forever. Ganz Schön Clever, I finally got, but it's the French version, Très Fouté. Quacksalber you can't get until Panasaurus comes out with it, I think. And Luxor, I mean, it came and went. You can't really get it. And the Mind, no, that's Panasaurus, right?
Yeah, I have to say, because of that effect, I think this was the year of bootlegged Spiel des Jahres nominees. Because, I mean, with you call it Tres Fute, or I will slaughter the German Ganz Schön Clever. You can print the sheets off BGG and then play it with the dice from Rolling America, which a lot of people did. And then with the Mind, you can actually play that with the 6 Nymph deck. So, it was the year of like us all making do while we waited for our English versions.
I don't understand. Usually these games are ready and are out, and it just seems like the American publishers missed out on an opportunity. Maybe because it was so spread out with so many different games that could win, and they just didn't know which horse to bet on. But boy, there's a lot of games. I'm just a missed opportunity in this case, man.
Yeah, especially on Quacksalber. I mean, we're not going to have a copy of it till like what, October, November?
At least, yeah. Hey, we got some people checking in. It's a live show, Chris. Marshall Wells. Marshall's the head of the Sinlaw group over there up in Alexandria. So that is not a Jefferson City. I apologize, Chris. But still a great place to visit. I didn't get to go this time, but Marshall and them run a great group. Thank you for checking in. And, of course, the Name Father, who has been working all week to prepare that game for you later. Name Father, who is now the executive producer of the show. So he's moved up this year, man. Oh, yeah. Steve O'Rourke says, worth listening just to hear Carinza rip John Luker. And
Yeah,
she does. Boy, she
he
is
does.
unmerciful, man.
And the thing is, they're both like very friendly towards each other in some games, and in some games, I've seen them really go at it.
Jay Peak checking in. If you haven't checked out his channel, he's the guy that makes all those crazy things with board game art or additional stuff. So check out Jay's channel. And he's also got a new podcast coming out where he interviews people in the industry. And if you want to try to get into the industry, so it's a different take.
Oh, that's cool. That's
yeah.
super.
So like he interviewed Stephen Bonacore about how do you become a publisher rather than, hey, Stephen, give us a list of the games that are coming out, which is what we do, you know?
Yeah. That's really interesting.
So, hey there, fellas. Congrats on the start on season 3. Godspeed. Thank you, Jay, and thank you for checking in. So can't wait to see those podcasts come out. I haven't seen the feeds yet, but you can still, if you look for them, you can find them. So that's it. So that's the SDJ. Chris Wray's thoughts on the SDJ. It sounds like about what you expected on the wins.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right. Moving on to Gen Con. Spicy games of Gen Con.
Okay, so
you went for one day, so obviously your time was limited, but I know you have some strong opinions on the games this year.
So I've played, as of last night, 25 different Gen Con games, which is a fraction of what came out because, you know, we had, I think, 600 games were on the BGG preview this year, and of those, 400 probably were available for sale. So while 25 seems like a lot in just 2 or 3 weeks, I think that's not that many compared to a lot as a total. So the first game I've given a 10 on BGG in years is Ultimate Werewolf Legacy. I love it. But here's the thing. I love Ultimate Werewolf. So I would tell people, if you don't like Ultimate Werewolf, you're probably not going to like Ultimate Werewolf Legacy. And if you did like Ultimate Werewolf, you're definitely going to like Ultimate Werewolf Legacy. So
what would people like about Ultimate Werewolf Legacy? What if you're a fan? Let's say you are a fan of the Werewolf games, but you played them. Why would they want to pick up the Legacy version?
So I think the biggest thing is you basically get 15 different preset games. So I've always loved like seeing how different people design their werewolf games. I'm usually the moderator, so I'm usually the one picking out the roles in the game. But with Ultimate Werewolf Legacy, you get sort of Ted Alspach and Rob Davio's picks of like 15 great games of werewolf, and they're pretty well balanced so far. In my big group, we're at 3-3 on the villagers versus werewolves, okay. And you also get sort of this effect from game to game, which is really cool because in werewolf, for instance, you can get eliminated first, and that's no fun. But in Werewolf Legacy, if you're eliminated first, you have a special sort of charm in the next game that can be very helpful. And so I think it actually takes Werewolf, which was a game I always gave like a 9, and then it made it a 10 for me. So I don't give very many 10s. I mean, maybe 5 or 6 out of 1,200 games I've played. And so, I mean, that was a rare rating for me, but I really love it. I'm not going to say it's perfect. I think it's had some rule issues in my group. And like I said, if you don't like social deduction games, you're not going to like this. But I mean, this is my gaming obsession of the fall, I think.
How far have you gotten in, you said?
So I've actually played all of the chapters now, but I've been the moderator for some. My biggest group, we've done the prelude in 2 chapters. But I had actually played a couple of the chapters a while back. So,
hey, I got a couple of questions here. Jay said, sorry to deviate from the topic, and we're talking about Ultimate Werewolf Legacy with my guest, Chris Wray. The art piece on the left, I'm assuming he's talking about the fleur-de-lis right here. Something that my wife found for the season 3. She's from New Orleans, and I'm from Louisiana, so figured it'd be appropriate for the thing.
Part of the charms. It's one of the charms of the new studio.
It is. It's one of the charms. And also a little piece that Steve, the name father, sent to me. I don't know if you could see it, but it's a picture that someone took of he and I both like Karuba.
Oh, okay.
And it's the gems from Karuba with a little guy going past what looks like he's looking inside the temple.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool picture. So thanks, Steven, for sending that. That is from Jay Peak. Hey, Steven says, really enjoyed Azul. Hear great things about Majesty too. I've played Majesty, and I liked it. I just found that it's close enough to a lot of other games that I have that I didn't feel the need to buy.
Yeah, it's one of those engine builder types.
If you didn't own Splendor or you didn't own Gollum, right, or one of those things, and that was the first one you'd buy, you'd probably say the same thing about Splendor or Century Gollum. I don't need those games, right?
Yeah, and I really like Majesty. I think, don't quote me on this, I think there's an expansion coming in Essen. So that should actually
inside info.
I've seen the expansion, but I don't know when it's coming out. But I think it's probably Essen. So
Hey, look, there's Marshall checking in. They just played Azul on Saturday. I'm telling you, this game has staying power. It's played every month in our game group. So
yeah, 300,000 copies in less than a year. That's been a while since I've seen a game do that.
Sean Jones, that's Mr. Sean, another demo guy that does a lot of demoing for Boots and does an amazing Rush impression. If you haven't seen the band Rush, this guy sounds just like them. All of the Kinderspiel's games are very good. He's actually played a bunch of them, and you played all three of them. So unfortunately, we have.
It was a good year for the Kinderspiel.
So a lot of people are checking in on the game and the mine. Steve saying you can use the mine with the game deck. And Quacksalber, that's right, Steve. Thank you for correcting me. Quacksalber is going to be a North Star game. A little surprising. North Star has kind of moved. I know everybody forgets that they published the dinosaur game that is a Euro, but the rest of their games don't seem to fit that. And all of a sudden, they're publishing all of these Euro games.
Yeah, I think of them as mostly party games plus the trick-taking game clubs. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, we forget about, what is it, Evolution?
Yeah, Evolution, yeah.
Yeah. We always forget about that one.
Yeah, the game where there's never going to be enough food. So
Right. Nick Shipley says he also uses the game to play the mine. So there's a lot of ways to play these. Just like you said, there's a lot of ways to play these games without actually picking them up.
Yeah, I think more people used the game to play the mine. The reason I say Six Nymph is some people, I once said that you could use the game to play the mine, and I got a lot of pushback on the internet because apparently, and I don't remember this, in the game you don't have a 1 or 100 card, and
I don't remember.
In the mine you do, and so
Six Nymph has 1 to 100.
I think it's to 104, but I might be wrong on that. But yeah, I think
I got the game downstairs. I'm gonna have to check that out. I might be able to play the mine tomorrow.
Yeah,
I just won't have the little.
But here's the thing: it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like you could play it with the game deck. I mean, it's not like the odds of you actually drawing a 1 or 100 card and it being meaningful are like slim to none. So, yeah, it's a great game.
I'm gonna have to check that out. And I do want to buy the mine because that's the kind of games that I do like to play. But I mean, you can't get it. So,
yeah, I the best review written of the Mind is Eric Martin's, and it's probably my favorite game review I've read this year. So I encourage people to check that out. He wrote how it's basically like watching somebody play, like use the magic trick. And I think that's true.
Oh, okay. I hadn't thought of that. BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Chris Wray, the Opinionated Gamers, here to talk about Gen Con games. You got another one on your list, and this is one I actually saw a demo of, so I'm a little bit more familiar with it than I am with Ultimate Werewolf Legacy. Tell us about that game from Simon.
Gizmos. So I first saw Gizmos back in April, and Gizmos is an engine building game. It's going to get compared a lot to Splendor. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's fair. This game is pretty different than Splendor, but it's an engine building game, which always makes this hobby go crazy. I mean, people love engine building games. This is a pretty cool one. It's very well produced. On your turn, you basically pick a marble, which is a resource, or you buy a card, or you can reserve cards, which I think that's what invites the comparison to Splendor. But it's this basic like build your combos type of game. It plays pretty quickly. It's pretty approachable. You could play this with gamers, non-gamers alike. I think if I had to predict the Gen Con game that will most captivate the hobby over the next few months, I would say either this or Root. And the reason I say Root is it's already captured the hobby's attention.
It's true.
But this one is not gotten a wide release yet. It'll be released, I think, at the end of this month. And when this comes out, sort of like Splendor hit this hobby like a bomb, I think this one will too.
I got to agree with you there. I got to watch it. I was watching the North Shore guys. Were playing. My buddies from the North Shore, Derek and Jason and Nick and all them. And the toy factor alone of watching those marbles come out of the little wooden container, that was enough to appease anybody. But the engine building aspect with it, to me, it was like off the charts. I really want to play it. Now, obviously, there was people waiting in line, so I couldn't get a demo, and I had to get back to the booth. But I'll tell you, that's one on my list.
This is one that people were not running for in the morning. So, when the halls open, nobody runs because we're not allowed to run. But This is the one that people rush the booth for. And I think there's probably a mistake on Coolman or Knott's part not to have more copies there, because I think this would have sold really well and generated a lot of buzz. But it's fantastic, and Phil Walker Harding did a good job. And I could see this maybe getting a Kennerspiel nomination at some point.
Why do we talk about all these other gamers and Phil Harder Walking is the guy that Phil Walker Harding is the guy that just keeps putting out game after game that goes right into everybody's collection.
Yeah, he's really done some amazing work, and I think he should probably. I mean, he's a pretty big name, but he should probably be a bigger name than he is at this point. This guy's here to stay. I mean, he's got great ideas. He's done a lot in a lot of different genres. I mean, Gizmos is pretty different than Emotep, for instance. So, I mean, this is a game to watch, and he's a designer to watch.
But when you ask people about their favorite game designers or the hot game designers or anything like that, they talk about the Langs or the Knizias or Alexander Pfister was on everybody's tongue for the last 2 years. No one ever mentions Phil, and that guy really should be in any conversation with any big name designer.
Yeah, he's really. I mean, he's rocking the hobby, and I think he's not as. I mean, he's pretty prolific, but because he doesn't have Knizia had like 4 new games coming out at Gen Con this year. Because he's not as prolific as a Knizia, he doesn't get mentioned in the same breath.
Well, Sean Jones says, just played Gizmo last night. Great combos, fast game. Man, Sean, you are on a roll with playing these games that came out. But speaking of Knizia, Reiner Knizia, right? BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers. Let's talk about the next game on your list, and that is a Reiner. Do I have it right? Blue Lagoon, right?
Yeah, so... God, I love this game. This is my most played of the Gen Con games, I think. Have you ever played Through the Desert?
No, I haven't. But can I stop you for a second? When has there been a Gen Con that Reiner Knizia's name was talked about so much?
Oh God, I mean,
how long has it been since that?
A long time. I mean, and gosh, he had this. He had Yellow and Yangtze, which is his redo of Tigris and Euphrates,
which sold out.
Yep, Lost Cities Rivals, which was pretty big and. I think will be pretty big in the coming months. And then he had it was a card game version of one of his other games. And I think there may have been a 5th game too. But yeah, he had a really good convention, and I think Blue Lagoon of those was probably the best seller. Blue Orange was sort of killing it at the event. They were one of the hot publishers. And this game is Through the Desert, but I think it sacrificed some of the strategy in Through the Desert, but this is Through the Desert more approachable. Brandon Kempf and I have a heated discussion. I think this was last night, actually. Brandon thinks this could be a Kennerspiel nominee. I think this could be a Spiel des Jahres nominee. I think this is pretty easy to learn. I played it with my mom. She picked it up pretty quickly, and she really enjoyed it. I think she won. And so that's sort of my test for the Spiel des Jahres. She's my secret weapon for telling what's going to win. But Blue Lagoon's excellent, and I've just really loved it. It's on your turn. You just simply place a piece. Really simple. And then it's sort of point salad scoring, but you're trying to build these connections between the islands. And it's a little bit like Go, but not as much like Go as Through the Desert was.
So take the opposite tack, as you and I, we were taught to do many, many years ago. What's Brandon's point? Why does he think it should be Kennerspiel instead?
He thinks it's a little bit too complex. Maybe I've got a blind spot here. I don't see this game as complex at all. And I said, Brandon, on the BGG scale of weight, 1 to 5, what would you give it? And he said a 2. And I said, well, I'd give it a 2 too. And he goes, yeah, but a 2 can't win the Spiel des Jahres. And I said, I think a 2 did win the Spiel des Jahres.
Yeah.
So,
I think you've talked about it. The weight of the games has slowly come down since we had that kind of spike for 2 or 3 years. But I mean, anywhere between a 1.5 and a 2 would probably easily be a nominee, right?
Yeah, and I think this is really, I mean, the rule book is really well laid out, and it's pretty simple. And on your turn, what you do is pretty simple. I don't know that this is any more complex than Azul. I mean, sure, you have to do math at the end, but that's been true of some nominees like Korkle and games like that. So.
Yeah, so similar weight to an Azul. How does it have that look that the Spiel winners generally have, or Spiel nominees have?
Yeah, you have these cool little wooden huts that are pretty, toy factor-ish, and then you've got a beautiful board. I mean, the board looks like the box art, so you can see the box art's pretty attractive. I've heard a lot of people, I have not seen the movie, I've heard a lot of people say it reminds them of the Disney movie, I'm going to mispronounce this name, Moana?
Moana? Yeah, Moana. Okay.
So, I guess
the cover looks like it.
Yeah, so maybe, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a very well produced game, so it's got that factor going for it. I think Yeah, we'll
They
see.
could
I
have
mean,
they could have got the license from Wana and sold 1 billion copies, man.
yeah, no, they should have.
So Blue Lagoon, that's one to check out. So that's early talk. You think of a potential SDJ nomination?
Yeah, and we'll see how the jury. I mean, this is just my opinion. I haven't seen any of the jury statements on it, but I've really liked it. Everybody I've played it with seems to have liked it. It can be a little bit mean, but a good Spiel des Jahres winner can be either played friendly or it can be a little bit cutthroat, and this is a little bit like that. So I'd say of Gen Con games, that's the best candidate.
No, you're right about that. I mean, Carcassonne. I've
Mhm.
had 2 people recently tell me, "Oh, I'm not really a fan of Carcassonne. It's too friendly of a game." And I'm looking at them going, "What game are you playing?" Because Carcassonne is like a knife fight in the elevator if you
Yeah.
play it with the right people.
Brutal. Yeah, stealing castles.
I mean, it's the one game on BGA, on Board Game Arena. It's the one game on BGA I've wanted to throw a shoe at my screen because Matthew Ward is just so mean to me in Carcassonne, man. Sometimes I think he does it just on purpose. He's just going to cut me off, you know. And sometimes you don't even see it coming. Sometimes it's like that. It's like that back attack. So yeah, Carcassonne. The SDJ doesn't seem to mind a game with a little bit of player interaction, especially if it's that kind of behind the scenes take that type thing, you know.
Yeah, and that's what makes this game perfect for that. Also, not the Spiel des Jahres has changed, and I've talked about that endlessly, and everybody has. Through the Desert, I think, got a Spiel des Jahres nomination back in the day, and so
will that rule it out?
No, because this is, I think, different enough.
Okay.
But I think that means good things for this, actually. So
it's not on your list, and I'm just catching you while we're talking about that. Is Reef a potential SDJ?
I liked Reef. Okay, I don't think it's good enough to win the SDJ, but I mean, it could maybe. I mean, a lot. Here's the thing: everybody likes it way more than I like it, and I like it. So maybe, I mean, this might just be my personal view of the game. I've only played it twice, and so
I need some more plays on it, but I liked it better than Photosynthesis. That's for sure.
Yeah.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here. Gumbo Live, episode number 44. I've got Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers, and we're talking Gen Con games because he's played a bunch of them. We're talking about his spicy games of the con. Let's talk about this last game that I see on your list. This is one I didn't see, and I found out it's not my fault, Chris, that I didn't see this game, right?
Yeah, can I go on my full rant here?
Absolutely. Rant away, man.
Okay, so this is how I earned my reputation on the Capital City curmudgeon. So I don't let myself be interested in every game. I look through every single game on Eric Barton's previews, but I only let myself really get excited about 10 to 20 games. Shadows Amsterdam was one of those games because it's basically Codenames mixed with Mysterium. And if you like Codenames and you like Mysterium, and frankly, if you don't like fun. But this is the perfect mix of the two, and it's really a good game. I actually played it at Gen Con, so I was super pumped going into the event. Now, I don't go to Gen Con as a member of the press. Brandon does. And so I asked him to go in the halls, and this was rumored to be in short supply. They were air freighting in 500 copies, and I asked him to pick up a copy for me. So Brandon texts me, and he says they don't have Shadows Amsterdam. So I'm like a little bit, sad. And then I go on Twitter, and I recognize the designer has just tweeted that there are 500 copies at the booth, and the publisher has tweeted this. And I'm like, Brandon doesn't know what he's talking about. So Gen Con opens, I go buy some Blue Orange games, and then I head over to Libellude, who publishes this, and I'm like, hey, this must, is Shadows Amsterdam here? And they're like,
I want my game.
Yeah.
I want my game.
Yeah. And they're like, no, it's not here. It's not out yet. And I said, well, when's it coming out? And they go, oh, it's coming out in February. And I'm like, February? I'm like, I just read from the designer and the publisher that it's here. So I didn't say that to them. So I walk over to the Asmodee store, and they don't have a copy. Well, later in the day, they have this handmade copy, this handmade sign that says no Shadows Amsterdam today, and then a handwritten sad face. And meanwhile, Libellude is, if you go on BGG that day, they are running repeated ads saying that there are 500 copies at the booth. And I'm like, what am I missing? Is this do I have to use a secret code word or something? So we play the game. I'm like, when's it coming out? And they're like, February? And I'm like, and then they go, or October? We're not really sure. And then the people at Asmodee,
guys, man.
Yeah, the people at Asmodee are like, oh, it'll be here tomorrow. It definitely never showed up to the show. They said it was going to be there every day, and it never made it. So it was really funny because it was one of my most anticipated games, and it just never got to the event. And It's a
Did it
great
ever make
game.
Indy, as far as you know?
They lost the pallet.
Oh.
So they found it. My understanding is they found it on Monday. So there are 500 games somewhere in Indianapolis, and if I get really bored one weekend, I'm going to go hunt them down. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that would be interesting. How would you track them down?
Yeah, it's a detective game, so I'd have to employ the skills that I'd be using in Shadows Amsterdam. But
okay, so we talked about trying to find the game. Tell us a little bit about the game. From what I understand, it's a social deduction game, sort of.
yeah, it's sort of. I mean, it's actually probably most similar to Mysterium more than Codenames. But
Okay.
the comparison to Codenames is you have a card that shows places where you can collect evidence, and then you have to return it to like a spy master. And I'm mixing up sort of the terminology a little bit. But so you basically play cards down, sort of like Mysterium. Like this card means move to this space, and you have to get your teammate to move to the right space. But the problem is there are bad spaces to move, and if you move to 3 of those through the course of the game, you lose. Which is how I lost to Luker and Brandon. The person giving me clues, she was not good. I don't. she was doing it based on colors, and I was being very literal. And but
let's not spoil it. You do talk a lot about it in the episode. So
yeah, but
Chris, did we lose you?
Oh, are you there?
Hold on a second. I think we lost Chris there.
Am I here?
Hey, Chris.
Can you see me?
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here. We had some technical problems there. We've lost Chris. Hopefully he should be punching in back in there. So hey guys, in the group, you've heard 4 games here: Ultimate Werewolf Legacy, and Gizmo's Blue Lagoon, and Shadows of Amsterdam. Which one of those? Hey, there you are, Chris. He's back.
Sorry about that.
I was telling the chat group, that he's talked about some spicy games: Ultimate Werewolf Legacy, Gizmo's Blue Lagoon, Shadows over Amsterdam. Which one of those games would anybody want to check out? Man, and something's going on with the chat, by the way. I'm not getting these chat messages till late, so something's going on with the Be Live subscription. I apologize about that, Chris.
No problems.
Okay, you can still hear me? Okay, good. So let's check out some of these messages here. Let's see. Jay Peak said, oh, yeah, the Karuba one is the one he was wondering about. So, man, some of these are pretty old, but I'm just getting these messages now. Let's see what else. Yep, Sean Jones says he's always checking out Phil Walker Harding. So that is good. Oh, and Brandon's been paying attention, so I did not know he was checking in on you there. So, and he said, congratulations, you got Moana through the Moana through the desert. Okay, I got it. I got the joke. That's good. Wow, he's Brandon was checking out all of the stuff. Leave that Libelud demo girl alone.
He did do a great job, but they just didn't have the game, and they kept telling me they had the game.
Well, you know what? I don't want to spoil it. You go into a lot more detail in the episode, and if you really want to hear a cranky Chris Wray, he goes off on it there. So good. Steve says he can still hear you. All right, so that's the games. You gave me the friendly stuff. That's the 4 games you like. And chat members, if you guys want to comment which of those 4 games were interesting to you, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But let's talk about some of the games that you are not fans of. What are the voodoo that we need to avoid, Chris?
God, every time I say this, I get a lot of internet pushback. I played Pipe Mots.
I'm saying it Pipe Mots. I'm not sure how Matt and them call it, but
I mean, okay, so I have to back up here. I'm a huge Lookout fanboy. Like, I love Lookout, and they're one of my favorite publishers. I mean, if they're in like my top 3, and so like Brandon pulls out this small card game from Lookout, and I'm pretty excited. And as Brandon could attest, I checked out about 5 minutes in because I just don't see the strategy. I don't think it's fun. The artwork is boring to me. The theme is boring to me. And
bird watching?
I'm not like, it's just not interesting to me. I mean, the artwork was attractive, but I thought the gameplay was less than stellar, and everybody seemed to like it, but like actually everybody seemed to like it, but not love it. But nobody was really like defending it. And I actually don't even know that Brandon liked it that much. Maybe he'll comment. But
I'm looking at the BGG page. It's Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, known for some really, some good games. I love one of my favorite pick up and deliver games is Wasteland Delivery Express. Clemens Franz. I mean, that's a big name.
Art, yeah.
And Lookout games. And you're a huge fan of Lookout. So, wow.
Yeah, and I just did not like this. And at the time, Brandon sent me a thing this morning that's like, he's like, Chris, the ratings aren't falling as much as you say. the ratings are falling pretty quickly for this game. I mean, it had an 8-ish rating when we played it. It's down around
7.6 now.
Yeah, 7.6 now. Yeah. That's a pretty big fall. That's the difference between something that could crack into the top 100 and something that definitely won't.
Well, let's talk about this. It says you skillfully play bird cards from your hand to collect seeds and birds at the bird feeder. That's exciting, right?
Is it? No.
If you read the transcript, Your Honor, I said it's exciting.
Yeah. But I think the problem is I don't know why you wouldn't generally play your highest card. Now I'm probably going to get internet pushback for that comment.
Okay.
But I don't know. It wasn't exciting to me, and I kind of wanted to like it, but just it wasn't there.
Would Chris Wray agree that he needs more than one play though to give the to judgment on it?
No. No. So here's my newest rant in this hobby. If a game's not, there are 1,400 new games a year. If a game's not fun the first time, why should I play it a second?
It's true. It is true. I do like to play a game the second time, and here's why. Here's my excuse before I really go off on it. And it's because many times we don't like it because we didn't play it right the first time.
Well,
I like to be fair to the designer.
Yeah, and there's a chance of that here. I wasn't the guy who read the rules. Even if I had them, maybe we played it wrong. But yeah, I just did not see the strategy there, so I didn't see the fun. I mean, to me, games are about interesting decisions, and I felt like no decision I made was that interesting here.
Yeah, we talked about Get the Cheese, where one person won by flipping their hand upside down and tossing the cards backsided, and they still won.
If I could compliment the game for a second, it did have kind of interesting scoring at the end. But everything leading up to the scoring was not interesting. So,
was the scoring you take the lowest of your track, and whoever has the highest score on the lowest track wins?
Yeah, that's the Nietzsche scoring. It was.
I know you like that scoring, and I do too.
It was sort of a majority. I always like majority scoring. I always find it interesting, but and then it's these eggs on the cards you collect. So it was sort of point salady, but the scoring was okay.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo here. Gumbo Live, episode 44. Got Chris Wray, and we're pulling it out of his teeth. We're getting the voodoo to avoid from Gen Con. And the second one, I can't believe is on this list because I literally, not figuratively, literally heard about this game every day for 4 days.
It is,
and it's
dude. It is an extremely fun game to play exactly once. Because it loses its novelty about halfway through the first game. So, I mean, do you want to describe it? Do you want me to describe it?
No, I've never played it, so I'm assuming it's basically their other game, just dude.
Yeah, you have cards, and they all have a different font, and then they might have punctuation, or they might not. And then you have a stack of these things, and all of the cards just say the word dude, and you have to say the word dude like how you would say it based on the font and the punctuation. So, like, if there's a question mark, you might be like, dude? And, like, or if it's like, I don't know if there is an exclamation point, but if there was, it would be like, dude. And so you have to say that. And then you have to watch everybody else around the table and see how they're saying the word dude. And if you think you have a match, you both play down the card. If you're right, you get to keep it. Whoever gets the most of their cards played down wins. It's that simple. That's the whole game. The problem is that sounds like fun, and it is fun, but it gets really loud and really tiresome after like 30 seconds. And so I think everybody at the table had way more fun than I did. I was like, this seems like a one-trick pony. And like, if somebody plays this game 10 times, I think they've played it 9 times too many.
Right. That sounds fair. So it sounds a little bit like North Star is just played. They've actually bought the rights to Pit, and they're cutting out all the fun stuff of Pit and making it into 2 or 3 different games.
Yeah,
when we played Pit, my dad, I have played Pit, I don't know, 1,000 times with my dad. It was his favorite game. And we played it so much we had to come up with variants because we would start to lose our voice. So we played Pit where you had to do your fingers, which is similar to their other game where you're doing the Happy Salmon stuff. You would do 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, but you had to just do fingers. When we got tired of that, he came up with a variant that you had to knock. So you had to go. Yeah, I'm not so good on your knuckles after playing for about 20 minutes, but we just came up with all these crazy variants. Doesn't it sound like that's what North Star is doing?
Yeah, and I think the comparison to Happy Salmon, like a lot of people will really love this game, like on occasion. And actually, I made my snarky comment about exactly once. I could see myself playing this again in a year, but I mean, it's going to take a special occasion and a special audience, and I just don't see the need to own it.
Happy Salmon or Dude?
I like Happy Salmon better, but
okay, so you go Happy Salmon.
That's just very entertaining. So
blue Happy Salmon or green Happy Salmon?
Oh, I don't know. Is there a difference? I don't know.
They're the same game. They just have different colors.
Oh, okay.
So you could play up to 12 people now, I think.
Oh my gosh.
That would be, I think someone would get hurt if we played that many. So that is Dude, right? All right, the last one, and we got to do it quick. I don't know anything about this game other than I've seen it mentioned on social media. So you're going to have to help me out here. What is Togs or Tags?
Tags. It's by a new publisher under the Asmodee branch.
Okay.
It's basically, you have a row and a column, okay? And you've got, up here, you've got different trivia categories. So you might have islands or things to do with Africa. And it's not all geography, and then down here you've got letters. So like maybe C, F, G, whatever. And so like if you've got like Antarctica up here and then P is your first letter, you have to come up with a word associated with Antarctica and the first letter P. So of course you'd say penguin. Okay. Now that's all the game is. Now you're trying to do as many of those as you can in 15 seconds. You take turns. Each time you get it, you get a marble, and then whoever has the most marbles wins. It's a lot like the old game. And I'm probably going to mispronounce this. Is it Scattergories or
Scattergories?
Yeah,
Scattergories.
It's a lot like that game. It felt really derivative to me. It almost felt like they ripped off Scattergories, but it was pleasant enough. It's just not something I think that most gamers would like, and it didn't seem. It seemed a little bit more complicated than Scattergories. Although it's been 15 years. It's been 15 years since I played Scattergories, so maybe I'm misremembering things.
And the reason I'm bringing it up is I actually saw a lot of posts about it on social media. So when that happens, it gets on your radar and it's something you want to check out. But I'm glad to hear that I don't have to rush out to take a look at this game. So
it's very pretty. I mean, it's a very well produced game. If more companies produced games like that, then I think it might be lipstick on a pig.
That could be a good topic for another time. Man, something's going on with the chat. I apologize, Chris. We're just not getting the comments. I don't know if you're seeing them or not, but I'm not. I'm not seeing them, so I'm not sure what's going on. But we're going to go on to our, we got to play a game as part of Gumbo, right? So you've played the Envy game already. We're going to play a different game. It's called the Jambalaya Game. Some people know it as board game mashups. So the evil doctor, Stephen O'Rourke, he's not actually a doctor, and so don't go to him for prescriptions. But at least I don't know, Steve, if he is a doctor, let me know. Steve O'Rourke, the name father, and I have come up with some. You know the Spiel des Jahres. You've written many articles about the history of the Spiel des Jahres. We talked about it last time. I've actually read a lot of your articles. They're awesome. I refer anybody over to them. If I remember right, they're on BGG. It's a geek list, right?
Yeah. We've got a geek list.
Make sure people check that out. If you're interested like me in the history of these games, you actually have talked to some of the authors. But now let's see if you can get some of these games in conjunction with other games. So we're going to give you clues, okay? And your job is to come up. You know what a mashup is, right?
Kind of.
Okay, so it would be something like if let's see. I'll give you one right here. So if I gave you the clue, beer makers need electricity too, I might be talking about two games, one of which is a Spiel des Jahres winner or nominee, and another game mashed together. That would be Web of Power, Power Grid. Web of Power Grid.
Okay.
So it's a board game mashup. Web of Power, Power Grid. Oh, let's see. Hold on. We got something. Yeah, so we're having all kind of problems here. I was trying to get Brandon in here to also play with you, but it's not coming in. I don't see him in the lobby, so let me tell him to check in again.
By the way, I went to Heaven and Ale for the beer comment.
Oh, okay. That would have worked, huh? All right, so let me give you a couple of these. Okay, now of course we're getting all the comments all at one time. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. If a game's not fun the first time, why should I play it the second? Oh, wow. Steve O'Rourke, he agrees with you. Let's see. Big Lebowski meets Happy Salmon.
Yeah, actually.
Talking about the dude.
That's a really good description.
I like it. Way to go, Marshall. That's pretty nice. It's Happy Salmon except for dude. Chuck Yeager says, and not that Chuck Yeager. This is Chuck Yeager from the Gateway and Filler Group, a fantastic group. Right up your alley, Chris. If you're not a member, you should join it on Facebook. Neither one for me. He says salmon or dude. He doesn't like either one of them. And Brandon says, "Oh man, Tags deserves no hate or distaste." So he's a fan of Tags.
He bought it before he played it. He's got the endowment effect.
That's right. It must be good because I bought it and
Yep.
I'm involved in it. That's right. All right, so let me throw some of these at you. Some of these are Steve's, some of these are mine. Here's your clue. And people in the chat room, you are welcome to guess on this, and we'll see who gets it. Do I re-roll some of these dice to attack Godzilla? Could be a bit whiskey.
So King of Tokyo or King of New York and gosh, I don't know what the whiskey.
Got to be a mashup. A part of the name. Could be a bit whiskey.
I don't know. Oh gosh.
Whiskey. So King of Tokyo was not a Spiel des Jahres winner or nominee, right?
I don't think so.
No. So it's the other game that
Liar's
is.
Dice?
No, good. That's a good one. Think of that whiskey part, though. What is that whiskey part?
Why am I blanking on one that had to do with whiskey?
All right, you need a hint?
Yeah,
I'll give it to you. How about I give it to you? Alexander Pfister.
Oh, so this is probably Kennerspiel.
Tile laying game from Alexander Pfister. Could be a bit whiskey.
Gosh, I don't know.
Isle of Skye from Chieftain to King of Tokyo.
That's good. Yeah, that was a good one.
That's Steve O'Rourke over there.
I forgot about Isle of Skye. It's sitting right there.
Oh, these games are always frustrating. All right, how about this one? I don't think this medieval road was meant for dexterity racing. And this one, I'll tell you, Steve was pretty evil about this one.
Is it Carcassonne and Via Paletti?
It is Carcassonne, but you got to think in terms of the mashup, though. There's something about Carcassonne that matches up with another name. Carcassonne. I don't think this medieval road was meant for dexterity racing.
Dexterity.
What's a good dexterity game for racing?
Pitch Car.
Pitch Carcassonne.
Pitch Carcassonne. Oh, okay, that's perfect.
I'm telling you, Steve, somebody should hire that guy. He is very good. Let me go. Which one am I going to do? I like this one. This is one of my favorites from Steve. I got to tell you that. Elaborate Fashion, a Royal Ball, and a Hidden Assassin. What two games are that? He's even got a little rhyming in there. Elaborate Fashion, a Royal Ball, and a Hidden Assassin.
Oh gosh, what was that game called where you are like it's the fabric game? Rococo.
Which was never nominated as far as I know, right? Or it never won.
Yeah, it didn't win, but it was nominated.
So what's the winning game that would fit with Elaborate Fashion, a Royal Ball, and a Hidden Assassin? Rococo.
A Hidden Assassin.
Boy, I wish the chat was working tonight because I'm sure people are guessing it right now. Dang it.
Gosh, Rococo.
I'll give you a hint. You mentioned it tonight.
Oh, I mentioned the Spiel. Gosh, why am I blanking so bad? Code names Rococo?
Rococo names.
Rococo. Okay, gotcha.
Rococo names.
So I'm going to be better at getting the two games and mashing them up, I think. But
yeah, you're getting the games. It's just putting them together. That's the trouble. All right, so I'll throw you one that I came up with.
Okay.
Prehistoric railroads.
Prehistoric railroads. Prehistoric.
One game I've never played. The other game I've played many times, and I'm just not as big a fan of it as other people are. I think it's too mean and brutal. Prehistoric railroads.
So I'm going to guess Ticket to Ride for the railroads. So prehistoric.
No,
not Ticket to Ride. Danfrost? No, it wouldn't be Danfrost. Nobody knows about Danfrost.
So the prehistoric side is going to be the one for the Spiel des Jahres.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure.
Stone Age, maybe?
Stone Age. Prehistoric railroads. Stone Age.
This one.
Stone Age of Steam?
Oh my God. That was. How did I miss that?
Because they're really hard to do the mashups when you're thinking.
Yeah.
You got to think of which way it's going. It's not as easy, man.
Age of Steam is one of my all-time favorites.
Okay, now I came up with this one, but Steve came up with the clue, so I got to give him credit for it. It's a good clue. Caballeros con patisserie.
So, God, that's El Grande mixed with patisserie.
El Grande.
I don't know what a patisserie is actually.
It's a French word, patisserie, for a restaurant. It's a place that sells food. It's not a word we use in Louisiana. I just recognize it from going to Paris. So patisserie. That's a place where they sell bread, right? Man, wish Steve were here.
So El Grande mixed with something about food.
Yep.
There are a lot of games about food.
Caballeros con patisserie. El Grande, and I'll give you El Grande is the first part of the word, so that might help you out.
El Grande. Gosh, it's not coming to me.
El Grande Austria Hotel.
Okay, that's actually a good one.
Yeah, not a bad one, huh? Let's see. We got. Let me see. I got one or two more for you.
I think I'm like 0-7 or something. So
one of these. I mean, some of these are really hard though.
The one that I feel the most bad about missing is the Codenames one. So
yeah, that one I thought you would have gotten. Let me see if I got one for you. Critics with a temple for a pulpit. And I picked that one especially for you. Critics with a temple for a pulpit.
Critics with a temple. Temple. And a pulpit.
And I picked critics, obviously, because you're on a podcast, right?
Yeah.
There's your hint. Critics with a temple for a pulpit. And it has something to do with your podcast.
Capital. Oh, is it Capital? The game Capital?
Capital something, right?
Capital Lux.
Critics with a temple for a pulpit. Capital Lux.
Temple.
So you have played Capital Lux? That's a game you're familiar with?
Yeah, I played Capital Lux. There's also the old Spiel des Jahres nominee Capital, actually.
I haven't played that one, so I don't know that.
It's an Alan Moon classic, but I don't think it ever got a U.S. printing. Capital Lux Temple. Capital Lux Karuba? No, that's not.
So there's a big giant hotel in Las Vegas with a temple?
Capital Luxor.
Capital Luxor.
Okay. I'm going to give myself like 1/10 of a point for that one.
Yeah, you did get part of it. This is one I was thinking that you might get only because of the game. Fulton's Folly and French Filigree. That's Steve O'Rourke written all over it with the alliteration. Fulton's Folly and French Filigree.
I don't know what folly or filigree mean. My God,
Fulton's Folly. Oh, you're not a history major, right?
No. I'm an accounting guy.
Fulton's Folly was the steam paddle wheeler.
Oh, okay. So Mississippi Queen.
Right, right. French Filigree.
Mississippi.
It's an accoutrement.
Mississippi Queen Domino?
No. Good, close though, but French Filigree, an accoutrement for a lady, something that she's wearing.
Oh, Mississippi.
I think the designer of the second game, and I hope I don't throw you off, is Bruno Cathala. I think.
Well, now I just think it's Mississippi Queen Domino again.
Let me check while you're thinking.
Mississippi Citadels.
Let me see. Let me see who designed it. Came out in 2003. Who was the designer? Why did I think it was Bruno? But maybe not. Oh no, I'm right. It's the Brunos. Bruno Cathala and Bruno Faduti. Not currently in print right now, but a lot of people love this game.
Is it
Not me, I've never played it.
Is it Citadels?
No, not Citadels. And I don't like Citadels, by the way.
Really? You don't like Citadels?
No. I played both versions and I just don't like it. It's mean for mean's sake to me.
I think it's a little bit dated, but the let's see. So I'm still going with Mississippi Queen. Gosh, I don't know on the Brunos.
Mississippi Queen's Necklace.
Oh, okay, that's good.
That's not a bad one from Steve.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good.
We should make a geek list of these.
Some of these are pretty good. All right, I think I've got. I think I've only got a couple more. All right, so I've got tiles. They're multiplying, and I'm losing control.
I've got tiles multiplying.
They're multiplying.
So that's Torres.
No, not Torres.
Because that's so much multiplication.
Tricky one. I'll give you the hint that the multiplying is the big hint for you.
Multiplying.
Yeah. What game involves an object that is known for multiplying?
Pandemic.
Interesting, but no, not that.
Huh.
It's an animal that multiplies. Known for multiplying.
Rabbits.
Yeah.
Oh, so Dixit.
No, not Dixit.
I associate rabbits with Dixit. I'm
not sure why though. Where does that come from?
What's that?
Where does the rabbits come in from? Dixit.
It's the pawn. It's your meeples. It's what you move around the game board. It comes with rabbits.
I didn't even remember. I never noticed.
So it's Heron Tortoise.
No, not Heron Tortoise.
Oh God, how many rabbit-themed games have won the Spiel des Jahres?
No, okay, now that I don't want to throw you off. That part is not the Spiel des Jahres. It's the second part.
Give me the whole thing one more time.
I've got tiles, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control.
Losing control.
That's the hard thing about these clues is that we know what we're thinking with the clues, and transferring them is not always that easy.
So Via Paletti is certainly a game where you lose control, but that's probably not it.
Yeah.
But
tile laying game that recently won the Spiel des Jahres.
Azul. Okay.
No,
so
not a tile laying. You choose tiles.
You choose tiles.
Yeah.
It's still Azul to me.
Yeah. That's probably a bad clue. No, this is going to be a tough clue. So
that won the Spiel des Jahres.
It's got tiles.
Oh, King Domino.
Yes, it's got tiles in the shape of dominoes. All right, so knowing that it's King Domino, where does multiplying fit in there?
Multiplying kingdoms. Gosh, the rabbits are what are throwing me. Rabbit Kingdom, Rabbit Kingdoms, Bunny Kingdoms,
Bunny Kingdom, Funny King Domino,
Bunny King Domino. Okay, yeah, that's a good one too. God, that is really good.
Oh, look at this! Everybody's guessing now. Now I'm finally able to see. Oh, Adam, there's Adam trying to point out code names for you. Man, I wish I knew what was wrong with the chat. All these people had the right guesses, but we'll never know. It's coming in. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so
I think this game is really clever, but it's really hard.
It's really hard. I'm going to give you one last one, and this one's not going to be easy, but I got to give it to him because Steve came up with such a good clue. A feline crime solver who also trades goods in Rajasthan.
Rajasthan. Is that Istanbul? I don't know where Rajasthan is.
So you've got the right setting.
Okay.
You've got the right setting. So think about the first clue. A feline crime solver who also trades goods in Rajasthan. But you got the right setting though.
Feline crime solver.
You might not know this game. I don't know that I've ever heard you talk about this game. A feline crime solver.
Yeah, I don't think I know.
If he were a human, he would wear a brown hat with bills on both sides, and he'd be played by the same guy that played Dr. Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, so Sherlock Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes, but that's not the game we're talking about. A feline crime solver. Who's a feline crime solver?
Was Garfield? I don't know.
You might not know this game. This is going to be a tough one for you. Sherlock Holmes. Have you heard of that game?
No, I have never heard of that game.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
That's an amazing game title, though.
It is. And it's Sherlock Holmes and the Case of Furiardi, if I remember the name of the game. Yeah, it's pretty clever. So the game would be themed toward Istanbul. Steve came up with Jaipurlock Homes.
Love it.
Not bad, huh? Not bad. All right, well, that's our game, and man, it didn't work as well without the chat room. But you and I, we didn't connect very well on our clues. This game is pretty hard.
So any game, like I love word games, but I'm always terrible at them. So I am the world's worst code names partner. So,
I'll tell you, Chris, you and I would not be very good at these games, but I'm looking at the chat as it slowly fills in, and people were guessing them right. There's Sean Jones guessing in with Perlock Holmes, and wow, and
I've literally never heard of Perlock Holmes, but now I have to BGG search that later. Because
check that out. I'm sorry, Marshall Wells clocked in with Jai Perlock Holmes before everybody else. Wow, some of these guys are getting them. There's Bunny King Domino, man. Oh,
so I always turn this around. I wanted to ask you one question before we leave. What's your favorite Gen Con game?
So what is the favorite game I bought at Gen Con, or favorite game I
played? Yeah, either one.
Okay, favorite game I played, which I didn't buy because my buddy has it. Easy to say, Detective. I'm like you. I like deduction games, although I'm not that great at them. But Detective, Ignacy Trzewiczek has a hit on his hands with this game.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Did you get to play it?
Yeah, I played it once. I played the first chapter. I am embarrassed to admit my score. We got like 8% of the available points or whatever. But I mean, we did really badly. We have to replay it. We failed. So we don't have to replay it, but we're going to.
We did the Gen Con exclusive one, which is not Gen Con exclusive. Ignacy announced today that you can actually buy it again. So he is publishing it in the form of a deck of cards. But that little one-off that he did for Gen Con, we did it that night, and I still say we had the right killer. I think Ignacy's writer got it wrong, but there's not much we can do about it. So we technically lost. Oh, there's Brandon checking in. Of all games for us to have never thrown at Chris, he doesn't know Perlock Holmes. I apologize. I can't believe we stumped you with a game. That is a win for this game because
I've never that's not even vaguely familiar. But so I think, but on Detective, I think it's better than Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So both of them, their genre, they have to be intentionally obtuse, right? Like that's part of the charm, and this is, but it's still fun. So
I can't think of a game. Now I will tell you, we had a good group. Out of the 5 or 6 people that were playing it, we were all talkers, people that like to talk, and people that like to invent stories and things. And the 5 of us, we literally played that game for 2.5 hours, just arguing, debating, doing this. Really, and what I also like is that it's not only a talking game, but it's got true gamification. You have to manage your resources in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game that I don't like. I'm glad it's only 5 games, which sounds obnoxious because I don't think I could dedicate 10 games to it. That would be a bit much because it does take a while, right? Like they say to set aside 3 or 4 hours, and I think that's true. So,
we did the short one, and it was 2 hours. I mean, 2.5 hours, and that's the short one. So you get a lot of game out of what Ignacy's done. And man, to me, it's his time stories. He can keep updating this game every year with fresh content and interlocking stories and webs. I'm telling you, he's got a hit on his hands.
And Portal has a bad reputation for having terrible rule books. I actually kind of think they nailed this rule book. That rule book's really solid. So
so Imperial Settlers, well done. This one, Detective, well done. Every other rulebook they've had, I've kind of struggled with, and the expansions for Imperial Settlers have not been good rulebooks. But in this case, when Carlos and I were going through the rulebook, every time we had a question, we were able to come up with it right out of the rulebook. So
yeah, it's very well written.
Favorite game I played though would have to be a favorite game I bought out of the games that I brought back is Coimbra. And you and I talked about it before the podcast. We can talk about it another time. But man, Coimbra, I just love that game. I really do.
That publisher's on a roll. So.
Eggert Spiel. Well, I guess it's
Plan B, next move.
Plan B, right? Yeah. The copy that I have though does not say Plan B on it, not on the cover. Huh. I know it's them, but I don't know.
They're trying to keep the Eggert Spiel brand.
I don't know. Maybe look, it was selling out all the time. They may have been selling out actual Eggert Spiel copies.
Yeah,
that might have been it. So good clues from Steven, says Brandon. Thanks for everybody for checking in on this game. I actually enjoyed the Jambalaya game. I know you and I didn't connect very well.
No, that was a lot of fun.
If we had a better chat, I think it would be more fun with people chiming in. I'm not sure why B Live is having trouble with the chat tonight, but that is the way it is. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank my guest, Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers, for coming in. Chris, as always, it's a pleasure having you in there.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
How can people reach you?
I respond to the Twitter handle OpinionatedGMRS. You can find me on BGG at ChrisRay84, or my email is just ChristopherRay@gmail.com.
Well, we may have started something you're not going to like. Brandon says I'm going to make Chris play Coimbra tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
And he says it is an Eggertspiel game, not a Plan B game.
He has to read the rule book, not me, though, so that makes that more doable.
Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo. It helps us get the word out about all of our upcoming guests and shows. Man, Chris, we've got a lot of good guests this season. If you get a chance, check it out, including just announced today, I've got Rob Davio coming in at the end of the season, one of the very last guests. And at that time, we should be able to talk about Dark Tower and Fireball Island. So he's
got to play Ultimate Werewolf Legacy before then. So
I forgot about that game too. We got to talk about that one. So that is one of the ones that he's going to talk about, because he said he's going to bring that up that night. So I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and until next time, Chris, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Thank you very much.